Hello, everyone. This is Loydeen from the U-Haulers, and as I teased on my last video, I wanted to talk with the psychologist that I always talk about that got me through so many heartbreaks in my life and through specifically my ex drama back when it was happening daily, hourly, every minute, and I was, in distress. So I reached out to her to talk to her about it, and she has generously allowed me to record and speak to her. So here she is. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Hi, hi.
All right. So you remember, without me even having to say her name, since I'm leaving her name out of this, you know the ex I speak of.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I uh did text you and let you know that what you had thought was going to happen the entire time and I thought was not is that she did come back. And
hmm
so I sent a text, like, OMG, she's back. You'll never believe this. She has come back. And now it's when I'm with Heidi and the kids. And I was like, holy shit. Big eyes. And so, yeah, actually, when she called, I didn't have my phone. I was doing something on Heidi's computer, and for some reason, I don't even know why, Heidi had my phone in the bedroom and I was in the living room, and Heidi came out with like big eyes with like, and she's like literally showed me her picture. And I was,
Yeah.
she's there on the screen. My heart just like plummets. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it'd been 4 years. And she was just like, I don't know what to do. And she's handing me the phone. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And she's like, well, call her back. And so I called her back, and I knew she'd been off social media that whole time. So she answers the phone and it's just like, hi. And I'm like, hi, how are you? And she's like, good, how are you? What's going on? And so I'm like, and she's like, do you still live in New York? And I'm like, no, I live in LA. And she's like, oh, and then she's like, told me, a little about her. And then she just said, well, you know, I just have been wanting to make this call for a really long time, and I just keep putting it off. And I just felt like I shouldn't put it off anymore. And I just wanted to, call and speak to you, because I just feel that back when we were together, I should have went to therapy. And instead, I would lie to you and tell you that I'm not in love with you, or try to make you feel that it's one-sided feelings, or that we should end, or, that I wasn't feeling everything you were feeling, and I would just run and then come back, and then it wasn't fair, and then I would run again, and then I would come back and declare my love, and it was just this thing. And she's like, so I just really wanted to validate your feelings that, my best friend knows every time, my brother's out and accepted, and every time that I'm at family events, I just think Loydeen should be here with me. Like, my family would love her. Like, I want her at all my family events. She's like, I bought a yacht and I want to take you on the yacht, and I'm very proud of what I've done in my business, and I just wish you were with all these things. I think about you all the time. And my best friend, just, I always tell her, and she goes, I've never dated a woman since you, because I can't even think about having sex with anyone after you. Like, I'm so in love with you. And like, it was just like so much coming at me. And she said, I just feel that I should have told you all this so long ago, and I never, was honest. And I want to be honest. Like, just want to validate, because that's not been fair what I did to you. And she goes, I don't know if your life is in a position where you could like
Mm.
move to where I live, or, she's like, I don't know, do you have roommates in California? And I was like, I do. I have four roommates. I said, I have three kids and a wife. And just dead silence. I mean, like, it's almost like you
Yeah.
could just hear, oh my gosh. And Heidi was around. She had to go do something, but she came back. So Heidi was sitting there at the moment that she said, I'm still in love with you. Do you have roommates? And I answered this. Heidi hears this. And she just, she said, three kids? Like, how have you had, like, you're so busy and you're traveling with your job, and how have you had time to have three kids? I mean, like, she's like, I was
Yeah.
kidless. And so, I explained, um, and so, yeah, so it was just like this crazy, like, obviously, weird thing. And so Heidi's like, you know, finish your call. Like, I'm gonna go do this. Like, you should talk to her. And so I went out, Heidi left and I finished and we talked for like an hour and she just, I mean, and one side was very validating because she told me that, um, like one of my biggest, like, how you have those questions with your ex that you feel like you'll never get answered. And one of my, for some reason, weird questions was that she had asked me, can you, she wanted to see me and came to see me, and I was going to MIT, like an MIT graduation in Boston, and I couldn't see her in New York. And so while I was at MIT and she was in New York and we weren't seeing each other, she called me and said, "Can you talk?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in an Uber." And she said, "Are you alone? Like just the Uber driver?" And I was like, "No, my friend's here," but she's like not listening. She's like, "No, call me when you're alone." And I was like, "Wait, I want to know what it's about. Can you just give me a hint?" And she's like, "Call me when you're alone." Like she just got very like serious. And I was like, okay, okay. So I said, I can call you in like an hour. And then I text her again. I'm like, well, I'm about to leave. I'll call you as soon as I get back to the hotel. She's like, great. And then I called her and she doesn't answer. And here she's built this up. She won't tell me what it's about. And this goes on. I call her and call her. And then 2 days goes by, still not heard from her. 4 days. I finally reach her. Like, I'm like, this is not okay. Like, you got this so built up, told me you had something you really need to talk to me about. And then we're
Yeah.
like, I need to be alone. So she answered and ended up, we broke up and on that call. And I said, "Is this what you were wanting to talk about?" And she said, "No." And I was like, "What was it that you were wanting to talk to me about?" And she goes, "That doesn't matter anymore. I don't want to talk about the past." So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it was 4 days ago." Like, what was it? And she wouldn't tell me. And then she just kind of said, "I just wanted to thank you for the sweet gifts you gave me." And the reason we broke up is because I told her I was miserable because she was like going through something really hard and just pushing me away again and going through that cycle. And I was like, I can't
Yeah.
do that. If you're not going to let me be there for you, I can't do it. But and she's like, "You're right. I can't be who you need me to be. And I don't see myself being that for a very long time. Because what I'm going through, like, I need to let you go." Because she had asked me to wait. I had said that twice. And the first time she says, "Please just wait. I want to be there for you. I want to give you everything." And then the second time she says, "You're right. I can't." Like, she didn't ask me to wait anymore. So I said, "Well, is this why you were calling or why you needed to talk to me?"
Yeah.
And she said, "No, I'm just letting you go, but that wasn't why." So this time she finally said, "That conversation when I called and wouldn't talk to you," she goes, "I was going to tell you, I'm madly in love with you. This is so hard for me what I'm going through, but I need to let you be there for me like you want to. Like, I need to just allow that. This is what I need. You're what I need. I know," she goes, "But then when you couldn't talk, and I should have just talked when you had someone in the Uber, but when you couldn't talk, I then had ruminating thoughts that just went over and over in my head as I was waiting for you to call. And I talked myself out of it. And by the time you called back, I was running and scared again. And then was just like, I can't do this. And then 4 days later, I was just like, you're right. You're right. She's like, but that. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, I finally got these answers. But
Yeah.
obviously the timing really sucked. And so why I reached out to you, besides the fact like, oh shit, you're right, because you always said she's going to come back, which I was like, no, um, was because uh, me and Heidi have a very honest relationship. And when Heidi
Yeah.
obviously knew this happened and wanted to know how I felt, I had to be honest and say that when I heard her voice and when I heard all the things I've been wanting her to say for so long,
Yeah.
I was not okay. Like I felt like I felt all the being in love with her again. I felt everything I'd felt for her, like I could barely breathe.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm, freaking out
Yeah.
because I'm wanting to, obviously not wanting Heidi to be hurt and manage her feelings, but I'm having this huge thing happen and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And luckily was traveling right after that. And so got to kind of sit with my own thoughts by myself. But that's kind of what got us in a sticky situation because Heidi was like, I don't want to, we had just found out that we're not actually married, that whole crazy story. And so we were dealing with that. And she's like, I don't want it to be like, if there's ever a time for you to figure this out, it's now. And I don't want to
Yeah.
be like the default choice. Like, well, if she would have called 1 year earlier or 4 weeks
Mm.
earlier, then, but because she didn't, then I'm what you have. So you just have to let her go. She goes, I would rather it be because you've decided on what you want, for obvious reasons. So she goes, I really want you to tell her how you feel and figure this out. I don't want to just be like, no, you've chosen me. Get this out of your head. Because I don't think that's healthy. I think it'll revisit us 4 years from now. And so Heidi's like, I want this dealt with. And
Yeah.
that was huge. So that's kind of like where it kind of catch you up to speed is like basically she's like, I respect, of course, I know that I did this to myself. Of course, you're amazing. Of course, you found someone. I've always had a hard time calling you because I was scared this is what it is. I respect that. I did this to me. I'm too late. But she is very much under the belief that if I had went to counseling back then, or if I had called you earlier, it would be a different story between me and you. Like that is definitely where she has fallen. That it's like she messed it up and this is just how life is, not that we weren't meant to be together, right? Does that make sense? So yeah, so I'm throwing a lot at you, but that
Right.
is, yeah.
Yes, it does.
So what are your thoughts? Let's start with all that. What are your thoughts?
So first of all, I want to, yeah, well, thoughts. So this reaction of Heidi, well, I simply love a woman who actually honors herself. So this is self-honoring. If you want to talk about self-honoring, what is it? Well,
Yeah,
this is it. So I don't want to be, second choice or whatever. Just figure it out, and I'll trust the love. And if there's not enough love for me, that's all right too. Just figure it out.
yeah,
Well, that's self-honoring. I find very, very respectable. I wish all the people in the world did that. There, there would have been a lot less um, agony in the world if everybody reacted that way, I think.
yeah.
Because the
Because it's not a
agony
typical
and
reaction.
the no, not at all. So it's a lot of people, they choose without knowing, they choose suffering.
Yeah,
They choose as soon as this kind of stuff is happening, then jealousy kicks in and the suffering starts. And I think she suffered anyway as soon as she said it, but it was manageable and she honored herself, and therefore it was manageable. So I think that for sure. Um, my thoughts about Heidi are you are amazing.
yeah, yeah,
So I love her reaction. I think it's a very good example for a lot of people, not only women, also men. It's
yeah,
so I also had an ex. I also had an ex who actually did the same when I fell in love with somebody else. He said, "Figure it out. I don't want to. I don't want to hold it against you. Figure it out, and we will see how it goes." So and I never left him for the other guy. I just fell out of love also again.
yeah,
So but it's great when people can actually do that. I think
yeah,
it is for the special people, and you will never forget. So what she did, you will never forget, and it will
yeah.
only make your love grow. It's so that's for the Heidi part, and
Yeah,
for
and I
well
will
for
say a lot of our listeners and our viewers have been the same way, that I think she had a little fear that we would be very judged about it, which I'm sure that is also happening, but majority or what I have seen has been very much two things. One, um the love of Heidi and feeling that same awe and respect, but also really appreciating the not only the vulnerability of us being raw and sharing it. We've had a lot of people think about that, but also people just saying, I wish all couples would communicate this way, because the
yeah,
typical couple would, in my position, often would say, no, 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 I don't feel anything. It's only you, and just stuff it down and deal with it on my own or tell my best friend, but not my partner, to protect her. But in the
yeah,
end, it ends up causing more distance and disconnect, right? And so
yes,
the us hitting it head on and just being like, we're going to get through this and I'm just going to be honest and we're just going to everything honest back and forth what we're feeling, no matter how hard or how many late nights or long talks or not sleeping or crying that it has caused. We're like, we're going to do this, has been something that people have really respected and been awe of, and said,
yeah,
I wish more couples would do that. Which I am proud of us for that, because it's not
for
the easy
sure.
answer, not easy for us and not easy for people getting to hear that we went through this. There has been
No,
people that have been judgy about it, but
No, it's a very mature way.
Yeah,
I think this is the only mature way that is possible.
yeah,
So, my compliments for that one, for both of you, by the way, for also for
yeah,
you for not being afraid of showing yourself. And I can imagine that you were confused and
yeah,
while your heart was beating in your chest when you saw the message of your ex, of course.
yeah.
So how are you now?
Well,
With
so I have a work trip that is in her area, and
hmm
I kind of been avoiding. So I don't know what would have happened if I would have immediately went and seen her when Heidi suggested it, when the feelings were
hmm
so raw on both our parts, because I did talk to my ex, and as Heidi asked me to, and told her, I said, Heidi really wants me to tell you that I feel like I'm still in love with you and that I have these feelings, and she has asked me to do this, and this was my wife's permission. And she was really touched. One, she was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And I really you went away on video, by the way.
mm,
She was I feel she was, in shock, and just really made her love Heidi just hearing about Heidi, but and I'll have respect for her as well. But she also was like, I'm just so thankful if I could be, a friend in your life, or anyone in your life, or even if every once in a while I just get to hear how you're doing and hear about your kids and your wife. She
hmm
goes, I just, I'm just grateful for that. And I wasn't really comfortable telling her yet that Heidi had suggested that I go see her. Like, and so I kind of just threw it out there without really talking about it. Like, I just kind of was like, said it really quickly, kind of like, well, she just said to
yeah,
kind of, like maybe I should go on a yacht with you and have a couple weeks with you, or go, kind of get closure with you. And I kind of just said it quickly. And so I didn't really kind of give her much time to react. Her only reactions were kind of, um, like, I'm really glad you told me, because I have been struggling. Because I'm gonna admit I've been having a hard time with God. Like, like, not having a hard time with God, but having a hard time crying out to God, just saying,
yeah.
why didn't I figure this out about myself sooner? Why didn't I do anything sooner? And she's like, and I've just been, she goes, I went and stalked your podcast and I've watched every video. And I was just like, how could I compete with someone that Loydeen's known since she was like a teen? Like, I can't compete with that. And, this lawyer. And, it's funny because then Heidi's like, how can I compete with, like, they both are feeling like, how could I compete with that? And she's like, so I stalked you and saw how you guys look at each other. And she's like, so I just felt like you were just, didn't even care what I told you. Like, you didn't have any feeling in the
Oh,
world. You didn't think anything. You're just like, yeah, whatever. I've moved on, but thanks for telling me. She goes, so it does. She goes, even though you don't owe it to me, it does make me feel like a really big, warm hug to even hear that, that there were feelings and care, and, and so
yeah.
she was glad I told her. And then, I think it was just like, I don't know what it would be like, like, I'm very respectful of your relationship. I don't know what it'd be like to see you though. Like, if we had permission like that, I don't know what it would be like to be in person, with permission. Like, I don't know what I would do with that. So we kind of left it at that, and I just kind of kept avoiding it because I am good at that. Like, I have a very full life, and I
Yeah.
have kids, and and I get very love my life. And so I just kind of like put it away. And then this work trip came up, and Heidi was like, I think this is a good opportunity to reach out and see if, there'd be a good way for closure. And so Heidi had given me three, or I guess two options. One was that we break up and I go and see if I can have this life with my ex and have a baby with her and just start a
Oh
whole life
no.
over. And then she's like, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to wait for you, but I'm not saying I won't be here. She's like, I just don't know. She goes, we break up. And then if you decide on what you want, you come back and see if the repair work can be done. Right. Or she's so, but we have to completely break up, and that's just how that has to be. And then I don't know if I'll be here. Or the other option is you go get closure and not say goodbye, as meaning like she can't be in your life. Because Heidi is very respectful about that. Of both of us are about exes. She goes, but where you get closure on this, where you get these feelings done and it's a goodbye and that's put to bed, and then you come back to me knowing that you choose me and you make me feel chosen. So those were my two choices, because she decided the choice of us not doing anything about it and just trying to let time take care of it, she didn't feel comfortable with. She didn't feel that we would
No.
figure it out, or she felt like it could come back and she didn't think that'd be enough closure. So I
Mm.
told her I don't want the option of us breaking up. I don't like that option at all.
No.
I'm in love with her. I'm in love with our kids. I don't want to put any of them through that and then have to do that kind of damage control for going and trying to pick up from my past, because when I kind of stepped out of the feelings a bit, I started wondering if it was really still being in love and more just like not having closure and feeling those feelings again. And also, I realized, like, I put myself literally in the position of pretending that I went there and got back together with her and what that would
Yeah.
feel like. And in that,
Yeah.
it kept coming up. Two things kept coming up. One, our issues were not just that she would push me away. That was not the only issues we had. And the other issues, I feel, when you're not in that newlywed stage, would really, really be a problem in my growth. And we would not make it. And the other thing was, now that I have Heidi, I can't just get her out of my heart. I'm not someone before Heidi, I'm someone that's had Heidi. And now that I've had Heidi in my heart and had my kids in my heart, not only would she be compared completely all the time to that, but I'm not the same person I was. Like, I'm now someone
No.
that has these people, and this is has a different life. I'm a different person. And it would be an injustice to her, even because I would go back and I wouldn't like any of the ways things were handled, because it wouldn't be how Heidi would handle it. It wouldn't
No.
be how me and Heidi were. And I would just be miserable. And it would be so unfair to her because I would not be a clean slate. Because you know how when you fall in love with someone, when you finally get through a breakup, you're like this clean slate. You guys make your own memories. I would be this
Yeah.
person missing my wife and kids, trying to make this old person that I'm not that person anymore. And it would just be a wreck. And it would be so unfair to her, unfair to Heidi, unfair to me. I was like, that's a mess. Like, I don't want any of that. Like, that's not what I want.
No.
So I was like, it will never work. It will never be me back then, unless there's a time machine. That is not, you know, I'm not that person anymore, and I'm too in love and I have too much, you know, she would have to constantly hear about Heidi wouldn't handle it that way. Like, Heidi laughs because I always tell her I'd just be like so annoying. Um, and she would be hurting all the time. Because imagine you'd be constantly being like, are you thinking of your ex? Are you thinking of Heidi? Are you missing Heidi? Is this how you act with Heidi? Like, she would constantly be insecure. So I definitely landed on closure. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see her. I want to get closure. Um, I don't know what that really looks like. Heidi's given permission for that to be romantic. Um, and there was a time that I really was like glad that she gave that, like, because I was like, I couldn't imagine trying to get this closure and not having that, I think. And so I was glad. And now I'm not so sure that sounds scary to me. But she had, there was no like rules set on this. It was just
All right.
a timeline. And
But
before, instead of it being 2 weeks, now it would be like a couple days. Like, it's not that long. So just because of my
but
trip. But
no rules, no rules.
yeah.
Does that what does that include? Does that include that there are no rules, so you can do everything you want? You can even kiss her or make love to her. And
Yeah.
are you going to tell her then? Are you going to tell Heidi about this?
So
What you did? Or
there is no rules on that. That's true. And Heidi is on the fence on if she wants me to tell her or not, and that's for her to decide.
all right, all right, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. That's fair. I think that's a good choice. So you only tell her what she asked for. If
Right.
she doesn't ask for anything, you're not going to tell her anything.
Right. Or she asks for
All
everything and she
right.
gets everything.
All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so about closure, when will it feel like closure to you?
Well,
What does
that's
it
what
feel like?
right. That's been the question, because like it's
Hmm?
not like I haven't slept with her before, so how does that give closure? Or does that just open it up and now all of a sudden, because
Yeah.
I walked myself through that and I'm like, okay, let's say I did sleep with her or kissed her or whatever. And then all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying goodbye, and that's all of a sudden gonna be really hard because now I've been intimate and now I'm saying goodbye, and now I'm think of all the feelings that not only is that not fair to her, because it's basically because she hasn't made a decision that she's okay with this. This was just us talk because Heidi wanted us to figure out first before I brought it to her, right? So
Yeah.
that doesn't mean she'd
Yeah.
be okay with this. But let's say she was. I'm like, that's not very fair to her because that's basically me coming in and saying, I'm going to basically get closure and then break your heart and leave you and go back to my. I mean, that's awful and painful for her.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to be on my way back having all these feelings. But then I have to get here and make sure Heidi's okay and feels chosen. So how do I even unpack those feelings? How do I deal with them? Because
Yeah.
now I'm taking care of her. And then she, even though she's given permission, imagine the anxiety and the feelings and then yeah, so that's where it's all kind of a mind fuck, is all playing that out is like, wait, but how does that work in the real world?
Well, in the real world, I think it's good that she throw it all back on you. So now it's your choice. It's
Yeah.
fully your choice.
Yeah.
So now suddenly you have to figure out, so what is the mature and right and wise way to react
Yeah.
upon?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a challenge. That's kind of a challenge. But if you said, so with my ex, not the only problem is not only the push and the pull, um, because we already talked about. I think your ex has attachments problems. I think she knows. I think you know. But those were not the only problems, you say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what were the other problems then?
So love languages, right? I'm
Yeah.
really big on love languages, and mine is quality
Yeah.
time, like off the charts, okay?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Okay.
hers was quality time was her last on the list, or maybe second to last.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
second to last, to be fair. But I do remember she was like, but I'm really intentional with my quality time, which was true. So I'm the type that if we're working in the same room and not speaking, but we're near each other, and then maybe we just we'll be working and then kind of say something sweet or check in with each other or text, then that counts as quality time. We don't have to be on a date all the time, like one on one, just like being near each other counts. Or
Uh-huh.
even like if we're apart from each other, but we're texting throughout the day. And not that you can't be busy, but that throughout the day there's check-ins or a text or a whatever, and then a good night, and you talk at the end of the night. That counts too. She's the type that doesn't like to do any of that. She teased that she changed herself for me because she would text all the time, but she hates texting. She would do it just for me, which was really great. She
Yeah.
was really good at it when she was doing it for me when we were in that lovey-dovey stage, but that doesn't last. And all of a sudden, it's like, I told you I was a bad texter, right? And then she was always traveling, always gone. So she wanted to then see me and be very intentional, be all about me during this 24 hours we have together, or 48 or
Mm.
whatever, 1 to 2 days. And she would be very all about me. But to her, it would fill her love tank all the way up because physical touch is hers and she would get that. And then it would be, she doesn't need a lot of quality time. And then she would go away and I would feel like my love tank is filled this much because like I would get like 1 day of quality time and then really want
Yeah.
just barely feeling like I can breathe again and wanting more. And then here we go. So there was that. And there was just like I have a degree in communications. That is my degree from university.
Mm.
I feel pretty good at it. And yet I would tell myself, Loydeen, you have a degree in communications because our communication together was so bad. And we would be like missing each other all the time to the point we would be in so many fights to the point that not speaking, we were supposed to see each other and she would not come see me, or I'd find out later she was in town and didn't see me because I had gotten mad and we'd stopped speaking. And she's very much a silent treatment person when she's upset. And so
Yeah.
she would give me a silent treatment. I would get upset. And then I would then finally take days to reel her back in and like try to talk it through and make her feel better about it and tell her my side, but be gentle and finally get her back and then find out that we both had just miscommunicated something and weren't even actually upset. Like it was completely, I'd not understood her, she'd not understood me. Like it was so the miscommunication to the point she would just be like, oh my gosh, we just don't think the same. Like we miscommunicate. She's like, can we just, like, I love you. Can we just never fight again? And I was like, okay, we're women. Like, I think we're going to fight again, but maybe we can just do it as lovingly and quickly and as possible. And she's like, okay, because she wouldn't want to fight, I wouldn't want to fight. And so when I would be going, if I was going to see her, it would be like I would give myself pep talks, like, just don't do anything wrong, just don't say anything wrong, just make sure everything's perfect, like just always worried about the other shoe gonna drop,
Yeah.
because I didn't want to ever ruin our time, because when it was good it was great, but when it wasn't, it wasn't, you know. So I mean, those are kind of
No.
things. And I truly feel she's amazing still to this day, and I feel even now she's become the person I always knew she would could be. And she always thought
Yeah.
I was amazing, but I was just always worried that we so were in love with each other, but dying to be amazing together, and just didn't know how to do that right.
Yeah. No. I think I can call it attachment problems, can I?
Yeah,
Is that is that all right? Yeah, because I think that this is the case with attachment problems. It as soon as people with an attachment problem, if it's an avoiding attachment style, or it's maybe there's fear of abandonment or fear of binding, bonding. As soon as that's in the play, there's always a very insecure ground you're moving on. So
yeah,
it will always feel unsafe for her, and it will never be a safe place to fall in love, because you can be rejected, or it's also very scary to bond together. So the very insecure place it is, the very unsafe place you are walking on. People with attachment problems, they are great people as long as it's a friendship. So as long as it's a friendship, they feel safe, everything is all right, you get the best of the person, the very, very best. But as soon as a person with an attachment problem falls in love, it becomes very unsafe ground they are walking on. So they don't trust anything. They are afraid of bonding together, but they're also afraid of abandonment. They react in all kind of ways that's only echoing how unsafe it is for a person to fall in love. And I think that's what you noticed all the time.
so now that she, more for her sake, not because of me, but now that she has went through therapy and grown so much, that can help her for
Yeah.
a future and change, right? Because it seems it's
Eh,
in all the talks we've had, it seems she's a completely different person now as far as how she looks at life, views life, even when it comes
yeah.
to trauma from religion, and
Yeah.
and trying to come out with all those fears because of having, Baptist preachers in her family, and always texting her, I'm praying for your husband. And I mean, it's really, she's like dealt with so many issues head
Yes.
on.
Yeah, I think, of course, I believe in people can change. If I wouldn't believe in people that can change, then I wouldn't be a therapist,
Right,
right?
right, right.
So for sure, people can change. And she can change as well. But what I think will always be the case is that the reflex will always be the same. So as soon as there is a deep, deep connection, and there starts to be a deep, deep attachment, or that is what should happen in a relationship to that it elicits some kind of deep attachment. I think as soon as that happens, her reflex will always be to push away, or to run away, or to avoid. And she has to fight her reflex, and I think that can be learned. So that is the change. She can fight her
Yeah.
reflex, but the reflex will always be there. It won't be so relaxed with a person with an attachment problem that is treated. It won't be as relaxed as being in a relationship with a person with no attachment problems.
Right.
It will never.
Yeah.
It will never be. It will never be.
And I think it makes sense because I remember feeling like I knew she was going to be this amazing person that I could see, but that
Yeah.
it would take the kind of time that I'd already been like trying for 2 years. Like, it was going to take more time than I had, because
Yeah.
that stuff takes time. And of course that makes sense because now, 6 years later, she with hard work and 4 years of that being hard work on it, it makes sense that I see a completely, different person, in maturity than, me too. I mean, like you knew that
Yeah,
I
of
had struggled
course.
a lot with like because of losing my parents and, like
Yeah, yeah.
thinking, you were like, you have fear of abandonment. I'm like, what do you mean? I've never been abandoned, because I just
No.
always thought of that as like fear of abandonment, like if I'd been broken up with a lot or people had been cheating on me or leaving, and I never had that happen. But then you were like, but haven't you had people die? And I was like, oh yeah, people die all the time. And so I was like, oh
Right.
yeah. And so that was something I had to like figure out, so that I wasn't,
Yeah.
every time Heidi's
S-
at the store, I'm not like checking Google to see if there's car crashes around us.
Uh, so you have this fear of abandonment, which comes from a place, right? From a trauma place, but you don't have an attachment problem. You can attach to a
Right,
person.
right.
So that for you to be being attached feels safe.
Yes, yes.
And I think that that is the normal case. Being attached should feel safe. If it doesn't
Yeah,
feel safe, well, go see a therapist. But for you and your ex, now you are in this place where you have doubts what to do, and you're not sure what is the right decision. What would help you? What would help you make the right decision in this? And
well,
how?
what are the things that you, because you work with couples, um even with Heidi's permission, what problems do you foresee with someone that's given permission where it's not cheating, and I am going to come back to her and we are going forward with this? What kind of problems do you see coming up when it's not been cheating and it's not, so it's not that kind of thing we have to deal with, but what could that cause, that you feel with someone
I
like that?
think I think you never know. And also Heidi, of course, she won't know um, what will happen to her and her feelings as soon as she knows, uh, like that you maybe you were intimate with your ex. Y- They will. She will never know. She will never
Mhm.
know what she's going to feel, and you won't either. So, for sure, um, I won't risk that. I don't think it's worth it to
Yeah,
actually become intimate because it can cause pain, which Heidi has to deal with then, but also within you, which you have to deal with, and also with your ex. And
yeah,
she has to deal with it. So I think being intimate is not worth it. But that's
yeah,
just my simple advice based on experiences with other couples.
yeah,
Um, I also I had some couples who actually tried it. Also being in an open relationship or polyamorous relationship, consensual polyamorous relationships. I've seen it all. Um, but I think it's only human to not know how you're going to feel until it happens.
yeah,
So I, as a friend,
yeah,
I would say don't risk it. Don't
yeah.
risk it.
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot lately because I'm like, I think it's I mean, even if I don't know. I think she wouldn't want that if she couldn't have me then anyway, and wouldn't want to do that to Heidi. But also, I think it'd be mean to her. I think it'd be mean. I think it's
Yeah.
just the whole thing. Like it gives me knots in my stomach, and I don't think that's the right feeling I want to have going in. Like having knots in my
No,
stomach,
no.
like I don't like I feel like I think I thought, oh, I have permission. And then when I really thought about it, I'm like, but I myself feel like I'm cheating, even if I'm told I'm not
Yeah,
cheating. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And I'm not a
yeah.
cheater. And
No.
Heidi has been cheated on in every relationship she's ever been in except me. And I would like to hold, I mean, even though she wouldn't count that, I want to hold that as something sacred with us where that she has found
Yeah.
someone that won't do that to her. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I don't want
Mm.
to. What if she then started feeling like that's what it was? I mean, she's the type that she's like, her word is her bond. So she would never, like all of a sudden switch how she viewed it, but that doesn't mean internally it wouldn't hurt her the same, right? So
No, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because we did have some times where it was like she had given this permission And then all of a sudden, I told her, I said, I feel like you're, without saying it, that you're angry at me, not because she's never been mad that it happened. She's not been mad at my ex. She's not been mad at me. She just feels like it happened to all of us and not that anyone
Yeah.
went out seeking it. But I said, I feel like what I'm getting from you is almost like this feeling of I gave you like that she it makes sense that she wished that my reaction was different, right? That makes sense. But where that
Yeah.
was kind of where it was coming at me, like I'm being letting you do this, but I'm not feeling chosen because you are feeling this for her and you are feeling like
Yeah.
instead of like that I told her I said I feel like you're frustrated that I'm not like no you're wrong. Um like I have had zero like I felt zero emotions. I've had zero thoughts about it. This has not affected me at all. Like you're the only thing, and I said of course that's what someone would want to hear and you deserve to hear. But you also are like I want you to be honest and everything. And so I said, so I feel like you're allowed to take it back, but are you taking it back? And so we had a really good talk about it. And she said, I'm not taking it back. I'm sorry if you felt that. She goes, I feel like, yes, of course, that's what I wish would have happened, but that isn't reality. And I'd much rather be in reality with you. And in reality, I just told her I said, I just need you, like, do you trust me? Because that was when I realized, like, I know that Heidi is what I want. I'm like, do you trust me that this is what I'm coming back to? Because she was like, how
Right.
do I know you're coming back? And she says, I do. And she goes, that talk is what I needed. And I've been full. She goes, I'm sorry I didn't communicate that to you, but I've been fully like, this is what I want you to figure out because I do trust you. But then the more I just thought about it, I'm like, yeah, but I want this handled very carefully for everyone,
Right. Uh,
because
uh,
there's a lot at
it
stake.
it is. There's a lot of stake, and I think it's actually quite great that you make this public.
Yeah.
Because I think this is such a human condition. What
Yeah.
is showing up right now, and it's I think a lot of couples experiencing this, that some person falls in love with somebody else, or the ex comes back in life, or whatever. It's I think it's
Yeah.
quite common, more
Yeah.
common than anyone would wish for. I'm sure, because I know you, I'm sure you will make the right decision in this. I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure.
Thank you.
and
Well, I
and
appreciate you.
and I love the communication you have, the relationship you have with Heidi, and this is great, mature communication. Keep up the good work, I would say.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, all the hours of tears that you've been through with me and all the years over this and talking this time. And I will let you know what happens
All
because it's
right,
around the
very
corner.
curious. All
All
right.
right. Bye bye.
Well, bye bye.